Hey, I hope you all are having a fantastic day. Welcome to Freedom Fridays with Latresa. I am your host, Latresa Rice. I'm your certified mindset coach. I help bereaved Christians regain hope by rediscovering their identity and healing through writing. Listen, I am so glad that you all are here. Let me know that you're here. Put a purple heart in the comment section to let me know that you're here so that I can come back and welcome you. Again, I am Latresa Rice, your mindset coach. I help bereaved Christians regain hope by rediscovering their identity and healing through writing. Today, our topic is 4 steps to be free to love again after loss. 4 steps to be free to love again after loss. Before we jump into this topic, I need to ask a few questions so I can know who's in the room. Please answer the questions that I'm asking you in the comment section with a yes or no. So the first question, have you lost a spouse or a significant other? Type yes or no, whichever one is your answer, in the comment section. All right. I see you. Second question, after the loss of your spouse or significant other, do you desire to love again? Type a yes or no in the comment section, whichever one is your response. For those of you who have responded yes in that section, I got some steps for you. Let's rock and roll together. So the first thing I want you to do is imagine, all right? So I have to walk you down my own experience and share with you some things that I've done to get in the position of being willing to love again, or willing to even think about marriage. How many of you know after the loss of a spouse, you may feel like a part of you was taken? Again, we become one, right? You may feel like this giant hole is in your heart and it's so big that you can't even imagine it being filled. Or for some of us, we may not even want it to be filled because you feel like you are leaving that loved one, although they're deceased. You may feel like you're cheating on that loved one if you even consider remarrying or dating somebody else. And those type of emotions can get in the way of you moving forward in life with regards to being willing to love again. Those things can be so painful that it keeps you locked in grief, especially if you have a desire to have companionship or a desire to love again, but you're afraid to step out. You're afraid that the person that you may choose to love again will not measure up to the person that you lost, or you're afraid that you may experience some of the same things that you experience with the other person, your deceased spouse. You may be afraid that you may experience some of the hardships that you all experience with somebody new. And in this stage, after you go through this grieving process, because it is a process, let's just be real. There are different stages in grief. It's a process. And we go through these different phases, and sometimes it happens all at once. Sometimes you may go through the different steps all at one time, right? It's all about your process. But if you are like me, and for me in 2020, when my husband died from COVID-19, I was devastated. I was so hurt. I felt like part of me was gone. I partially felt like, what am I going to do now? We had dreams. We were planning to do a conference together. We had goals. We had things we were going to do. There were promises that he had made that I was expecting to be fulfilled. But when he transitioned, those could not happen. Now, in that time, it was difficult to even imagine having a desire to love again because I'm broken, right? I'm in this broken state. And the thought of loving again was far from me at that moment. The thought at that moment was, how do I heal from here? How do I get up from this broken state? How do I find myself in a position of trusting God again? Let's just be real, because sometimes we experience great losses and we have an attitude with God because of what we experience. But then you have to shift your mindset that you can see things anew. So I had to go through all of that process, right? So now, after I'm going through that process and I'm taking the time to heal and all of that, I have a moment when I think, you know what, I may be ready to love again. But then I had a moment when I felt like, am I cheating on my husband if I marry somebody else? You know, and although I know it's to death do us part and all of that stuff, because see, we got to understand that although we may know some things internally, your heart may feel some things in a different way at that moment, right? So the first thing that you're going to need to do, and I want you to put in the comment section, if you are like me and you have some of those conflicting emotions, you want the companionship, but you may not want some of the experiences that you may had. You may want some of the experiences that you had before, but you're not sure if a new person can provide that, right? That level of love. One of the things that I love that my husband used to do is he would get home first, right? So I would come in as dinner ready, breakfast ready, my lunch is packed, like all kinds of stuff. And I remember the first, like after he passed, the first time when I went back to work in the office, when I had to get up and make my own breakfast, I remember crying. It was a devastating moment. And it seemed so simple, but it reminded me that he was not there, right? In order to get to the place where I found myself ready to love again, I had to take the time to heal. I had to draw closer to God. But this first step that I also want you to be aware of and put in the comment section, focus on the positives and give grace to yourself for being human. A lot of times when we feel like we're ready and we're ready to move forward, sometimes that feeling of guilt creeps in. And we say, well, what if I had called the EMS sooner? Was one of my thoughts at that time. All those different what ifs can cause you to be stuck in your healing process. It could cause you to be stuck and not being able to obtain the desires that you have because there's confusion present. Although God says he will give you the desires of your heart, you need to be clear on what the desires are. What do you desire? What is your real desire? Do you desire to remain a widow and desire to remain in that position? If that's your desire, it is perfectly fine. Remarrying is not for everybody. Forming another partnership with somebody else is not for everybody. You may be content, but here's the tell-all. If it is your mission, if it's your call position, right? Something that you are supposed to do with regards to remaining widowed after the loss of a spouse, that you will not feel any torment. You will not feel any anxiety, the feelings of intense loneliness, all that type of stuff. You wouldn't feel that. You would feel more peace if that's what you were called to do, to remain a widow and remain single in that sense. But if you're feeling any uneasiness, you feel like you desire companionship, you feel like, all the what ifs are coming in. Is it possible for me to meet someone else who can love me to the extent that my late spouse loved me? Is it possible? It's possible. Anything is possible. It's about what do you believe? So the first step in the process of loving again after loss is focus on the positives and give yourself grace for being human. You decide you did the best you could do in the moment. When your spouse was transitioning, you made the best decisions that you could make in the moment. We are human beings. We don't know it all. We make the best choices we can make in that moment. So whatever your choices were in that moment, they were the best that you could make. And I encourage you to offer yourself some grace and focus on the positives. What were the good things that you loved about your spouse, that you desire that God blesses the next spouse to do? Write it down. Writing is powerful. What are the good things that you love that you did that brought joy to your spouse? Right? What are some of the good things, the dreams and things that you may have had that you believe is still possible with somebody else? That's important too, because if you don't believe it's possible with somebody else, then don't even write that down. Maybe that was just between you and that spouse. God can give you something completely new and it can still be amazing. If we really believe that he's a loving father, that he is, then he knows what you desire. He knows what you need. We still need to voice them. Death and life is in the power of the tongue. We still need to voice those desires, right? It's still important for us to ask and keep asking, right? So those things are important. Next, if we're going to be free to love again after loss, we need to reimagine your life with someone new. Put an R in the comment box, reimagine your life with someone new. Before I step back into the dating realm, if you will, I had to take some time to really heal. Look at some of the things I did well in my marriage, some of the things I could have improved on. Look at some of the things that I loved about my husband, some of the things I believe he could have improved on. Notice I'm not using the negatives. There are positives and there are things, there are opportunities, okay, that we present in different relationships. So it's important to look at both. But right now, we're taking the time to focus on the positives and give yourself grace. And right now, the next thing that we're doing is reimagining your life with someone new. So I had to begin to say, okay, what do I desire in a new relationship? What are some of the behaviors that I desire my new husband when God presents him, all right? What are some of the desires that I have that I desire to see in that person? What are some of the gifts that I desire that person to have? What is some of the treatment that I desire that person to exude? What are some of the things that I desire to be able to do with them or I desire to be able to do for them? Because again, marriage is about giving as well. It's not all about what you receive. There's some give and take there. And if you're a wife, you're called to be a helpmeet. A helpmeet fulfills the need that's present. So that's important to know what our roles are. And it's important for us to be able to reimagine. And what I mean by reimagine, I mean, there's a whole process to that. And that's something that I actually deal with for those who are in the Royal Takeover program. I do help them with how to reimagine. But reimagine your life with someone new. It's about how you envision it. What does it look like? Where are you all living? What type of household do you have? What are you doing together? Why is this union important to you? Because if we're getting married, then there's a purpose. There's a mission. There's a divine mission that both of you have together. That can't be manifested by just one person. It takes both of you, right? That's a partnership. So we need to make sure we reimagine your life with someone new. All right. Next thing. Next step in the process. Put an E in the comment box. Engage in the process. Engage in the process. Sometimes we allow fear to stop us from even getting started. For you, getting started could be that you decide to do something different with your hair. I know for me, when I was getting myself back, I was finally getting back up, the first thing I did was put some blue color. I changed my hairstyle too much, so I had to get some washout color. Your girl's not about to do that other stuff. So I had to put some blue color on there because I'm like, blue is my favorite color. I'm just boldly stepping out there. Put a little blue color on the hair and started something different. I had to step out there. The first step was doing something with my hair, right? I don't know what your first step is, but you're going to need to engage in the process of being found by someone new. And guess what? Being found, even though you're being found, doesn't mean that you don't do anything. You still need to actually be willing to speak to somebody. Like you got to be willing to put yourself in a position to be found. So you're going to need to go places, right? Whether that's to some sort of singles event where people who represent the type of husband you desire may be present. Or if you're a male, the type of wife you desire may be present. That could be a first step for you. For some of you who are sick of the dating scene, you're like, listen, I've been on dating site after dating site. I am completely done with this. Forget this. None of these people measure up to my late husband. I don't understand this. For some of you, your first step may be to contact a specialist, someone who's a matchmaker. That could be a first step. A first step for you could be, right, to engage. This is talking about steps to engage in the process. A first step for you could be to talk to some of your friends and loved ones who know you best and ask them, do they know any eligible bachelors who they would recommend? And tell them to tell that person about you or something. See, there are so many small first steps. It could be going to a networking event. There are a lot of small first steps that you can take to engage in the process. The main thing is, are you ready to get started? If you are not able to take at least one small step in the process of engaging in the process, right, to be able to love again, then that is an indication that there's still some healing that needs to take place. And don't move too fast in your healing process. If there's healing that still needs to take place, take it. Don't allow the opinions of other people to cause you to cause greater harm to yourself by jumping out into something you're not ready for. If you're not ready to love somebody else, then everything else needs to wait because you matter. Without you, there is nobody else. You have to take care of you first. All right. And last but not least, if we're going to be free to love again after loss, we need to evaluate and decide next steps. Put in the comment box, evaluate and decide next steps. What do I mean by that? I'll tell you. For me, after jumping back into this dating scene and taking the different steps, right, in the process, there's been some frustration, but there's also been some great experiences. After each encounter where I may talk to someone or whatever, I needed to evaluate whether or not this relationship is going to move forward into something serious or I need to throw it back out. You can't be in such a rush for companionship that you're willing to destroy the dreams and visions that God is planning in you by yoking up with the wrong person. So after evaluating the relationship, is it one that can stand the test of time? Is it a relationship that I believe that I have something to add to this individual? Again, it's about more than just what they can do for you. What can you do for them? Is it a relationship in which this individual can work well with my god babies, for me, or for some people, their children? Can they get along with my family? All that stuff is important. And after you evaluated it, now you got to decide on the next steps. What do I do from here? Do I tell this person, listen, this is not going to work. We're incompatible. Now, keep in mind, some people can't handle rejection, but that doesn't mean you have to be stuck in a stalled or sinking ship because one person isn't delivered enough or free enough to get out. You may have to make that choice or that decision. And this is about your life. It's about your life. So if we're going to love again, I'm just going to summarize, you all. If we are going to be free to love again after loss, we need to focus on the positives and give grace to yourself for being human. Reimagine your life with someone new. Engage in the process and evaluate and decide your next steps. I hope this has been a blessing to you. Thank you so much for joining Freedom Fridays with Latresa. Again, I am Latresa Rice, your mindset coach. I help bereaved Christians regain hope by rediscovering their identity and healing through writing. If you've taken some time to heal, you desire to write your story, but you just can't find the time to do it, right? You have a desire to do it, but your schedule has been so crazy, you haven't been able to find the time to do it. I encourage you to join my free masterclass on May 31st at 7 p.m. Click the link in the title section and just sign up, and I will see you there. Thank you so much for joining. Have an amazing night. Bye-bye.